All right. We'll start in about a minute. I had so much difficulty getting on this last time I stood in for Andrew. I'm really happy it worked this time. How's everyone doing? So we'll just start in a minute. If you want to just start by settling in, maybe following a few rounds of breath. All right, so let's get started. My name is Ralph Andres, here standing in for Andy. Always happy to help him out. He's such a great guy. Unified mindfulness teacher trainer. And today we're going to be focusing on sensations that many of us tend to ignore. These will be sensations that don't have an agenda for our experience. So you might want to call them restful, neutral. We don't tend to pay attention to them. Our attention is typically drawn towards whatever is presenting most loudly within us, right? Busy thoughts, unpleasant emotions, things like that. We're going to gently encourage our attention towards these kind of more background sensations, towards a sense of being rather than doing. There's always a sense of being that we can tap into that doesn't need to be cultivated or maintained. So again, we're kind of taking our attention away from doing, and again, just resting back into being. I like to call it a trust fall into being. And I want to say, if some part of this guidance really hits for you today, absolutely mute me and just go with that. We're going to be doing a little bit of a tour of the senses, kind of going to be introducing you to what the mind is like when it's without thought, and then what the present moment is like, even when there is thought, resting into that present moment, whether the mind is blank or very busy. That gives us a kind of sense of refuge. That'll make a lot more sense during the guidance. Also, if it doesn't click for you today, that's fine. This is, again, a kind of tour to be explored and deepened on and off the cushions. So don't put any performance anxiety upon yourself to get this all figured out today. It's all just kind of pointers. So without further ado, I see two people are here. How's it going? Yeah. Let's get started. Okay. So lengthening to the crown of the head, straightening the spine. Relaxing the jaw, relaxing the shoulders. Relaxing everything that will agree to relax, and whatever doesn't agree to relax, let it relax in its own time. Just kind of leave it alone. We'll do a few cycles of breath just to settle in, and I like to bookend my guidance with a kind of gentle inquiry. So perhaps every couple of out breaths, I invite you to ask yourself, what would this moment be right now if there was nothing to do? Everything is taken care of. Everyone you love is safe. You're safe. If that were the case, how would you be holding the body? How would you be relating to the mind? So again, every couple out breaths, what would this moment be if there was nothing to do? And for a couple rounds of breath, seeing if you can hold the body as if that were true. Relate to the mind as if that were true. So we'll do this for a minute or two. Okay, good. Now we're going to begin with eyes closed. And we're going to work with the blank mental screen. So whatever it is that's appearing on the back of your eyelids, we're going to focus on that. It could be dark, light, shadow, kind of grayscale blank. Just focus on that for a few moments. And I'll be pointing out different attributes of this blank mental screen. And the first is it might be dark, but it's not nothing. There is an illuminated quality to it. And that radiance, that illuminated nature is there all by itself. Again, we don't have to create it or maintain it. So just resting with that blank mental screen and with that sense of not having to do anything other than gently encourage your attention towards it. Again, these sensations are just being. They're not asking us how to be, where to be, who to be. They're just present. See if you can rest with this presence. Next quality you might notice is that there's no center or edge to this blank mental screen. If you're noticing a center and edge, that's probably happening in mental image space. So just see for yourself, is there any part of that blank mental screen that's more present than any other? Or is it more of a kind of uniform presence? And if you want to use a label to stay on track, the label would be C, but you're welcome to not use a label as well. Of course, our attention will be drawn away from the blank mental screen. That's going to happen, of course, towards body sensations, sounds. This is a very important part of the practice. We learn to bring our attention back, keep all of that in the background without judging ourselves, without creating a story, as best you can. Again, noticing the lack of agenda. Just being. Now we're going to bring mental images into the practice. And we're going to do a little experiment first. I invite you to bring an image to mind of something from the past, something very neutral, maybe an old car, coffee mug, just something from your past. And hold that in the mind's eye as best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now, leaving that behind, bring up an object from the future. Perhaps a person you're going to see tomorrow, something you're going to purchase tomorrow, just something neutral as the quality of being from the future. Now, oscillating between the two, what is it about the image itself that tells you it's from the future or the past? Now, if there's an emotional quality to it, we're going to put that in the background. The image itself, what quality gives it the feeling, the experience of being a past object and a future object? Notice that they're both composed of the substance of the present moment. That this sense of time does not come from the image itself. Good. Now, that experiment over, what we're going to do is keep our attention on that blank mental screen And anytime an image comes to mind, I want to invite you to just tap on your knee, just to kind of keep track. So, image comes to mind, tap on the knee, image goes away, mind without an image. You're just going to soak into that. And again, body sensations, sounds, all of that is probably going to come up a bit. Just put it in the background. That's fine. We're often so used to following thoughts. So we tend to have our attention pulled in that direction. You may have to gently encourage it against the current to that blank mental screen. Even if you can notice for a split second what that empty mind is like, you can start to get to know it better. It may not seem very interesting at first. As Punjaji says, don't get bored with peace, just get to know it. Once again, noticing that space between thoughts has no agenda for our experience. It's neutral in a sense, also peaceful in another. And without thoughts, judgments, there can really be no problem. So see if you can notice this. And do so without creating a preference for non-thought over thought. So we don't encourage thoughts, we also don't suppress them. We just notice the spaces in between. That which follows a thought is also a thought. So see what happens when you don't follow thoughts. Sometimes when we watch the mind in this way, it becomes very busy. And that's okay. Just stay with it. Often when we are just observing our experience, rather than evaluating it, analyzing it, the thoughts can start to slow down over time. But again, if only for a split second, you can notice that space between thoughts. And now, before we move on to hear in auditory thoughts, I can invite you to just tweak the practice a little bit. When you notice a thought, try to notice its ending. When it evaporates, what does it evaporate into? What's left in its wake? any of this becomes frustrating, that's totally fine. Just put the frustration in the background. Notice that that's coming from the body. And that's what we're kind of background equanimizing. So it can come up, but we don't have to get tangled into it. Where do the thoughts go? And perhaps you can notice that same sense of presence, radiance of being lit up that we noticed on the blank mental screen can also be noticed in the character of thought. In a sense, it's lit up by the same stage lights. And you can notice this similar quality. Thoughts can evaporate just like water vapor into the air. We don't have to hang on to them. We don't have to suppress them. They liberate all by themselves without effort. Okay, good. We're going to leave that behind for now. We'll return to it in a bit. I'm going to invite you to bring your attention to wherever mental audio happens for you. So, if you want to say hello to yourself in the mind right now, wherever that hello arises, that's where we're going to hold our attention. So, just taking a few moments to find that space and to rest into it. Now we'll do the same practice. When you notice any kind of thought, auditory thought in the mind, you're going to tap on the knee. And when there's none present, be with that silence. And as the practice goes on, noticing the quality of presence there more and more. The subtle details, again, without agenda, just present. Again, just observing. So we don't want to have a preference for thought as opposed to non-thought. We don't want to suppress thoughts. We don't want to encourage them. Just being. Even letting go of that sense of preference can be a deep practice, even if the mind is busy. Again, this empty mind without thought might not be very interesting at first. Again, our attention is usually pulled into things that are louder. But notice this sense of neutrality, this sense of there being no agenda is much better than stressful, anxious thoughts. It's just present. Again, not telling us how to be, just being, however we are. Often, when we have unpleasant or negative thoughts in the mind, we want to replace them with better thoughts. We want to fight with experience. Often, this creates a bit more tension in the mind. We get tangled up, becomes like quicksand. The more we mess with it, the more we get sunken into it. But this is not the case when we can notice the mind without thought. So I'm not trying to make a better experience. We're being with the experience that's already present. No push, no pull. Now, like what we did with mental images, I invite you to follow these thoughts each time they arise into whatever they're dissolving into. Where do they go when they evaporate, when they dissolve? And then notice that silence that they evaporate into. Use thought as a kind of sign pointing towards that silence. Each thought gives us an opportunity to recognize its absence once it's gone away. This way, thoughts can really be an aid to recognizing that silence. So we can be grateful for them. Sitting with mental audio for just another minute or two, and I'll just be here in the background, so as not to interrupt that silence between thoughts. So now we're going to bring these two together. So letting mental images back into the practice, we're going to notice whether it's a mental image or mental audio, any kind of thought. We're going to tap on the knee just to keep track. Then notice when there is absolutely no thought present, or when thought is just so restful, so under the surface that it's not disturbing us in any way. Again, what we're looking for is that lack of agenda, right? That silent mind isn't telling us experience has to be one way or the other. This is the real refuge. If you can experience for even just a split second, it can really open up for you. It can be easier to trace in the future, on and off the cushion. So really be with that empty mind. It may even seem that you go away a little bit. The self-image fades, narratives fade, judgments, all of that might go away. There may be no one there that's actually noticing the silent mind. This is awareness noticing itself. So just for another minute or two, noticing if there are these quick kind of blips where the self seems to fade away. If that seems unpleasant to you, don't worry about it. You don't have to do it. But if it sounds interesting, look for moments when there's just presence and no one, no thing aware of that presence. When there's no thought, we're not comparing this moment to the moment before it or the moment after it. So there can be no problem. And this can also be discovered even when thoughts are present. If we're fully with them, there's no comparison. There's no leaning into the future or reaching into the past. Okay, good. That technique can be a bit of a workout. So before we transition out, as I said, I like to bookend my practices with a gentle inquiry. So, like in the beginning, every couple out breaths, asking yourself, what would this moment be if there was no problem to solve, nothing to do, everything taken care of? How would you hold the body? How would you relate to the mind if that was true? So every couple out breaths, what would this moment be if everything was fine? And then really try to feel into what that would be like. Okay, good. Now, opening the eyes about halfway, but staying with the practice. This is the kind of brackish water between practice and daily life. We eventually want that to be seamless. So, staying with that for another 30 seconds. And I'll be ringing the bell in a few moments. All right. Thanks for practicing, everyone. Hey, I can stick around for a little bit if anybody has questions or reports. I hope that wasn't too out there. That practice has been so helpful for me. but it's a really hard one to guide. So hopefully the guidance was clear enough. Um, oh, thanks, Ruthless Crab. That's a great name. Mike G. You're welcome, Elizabeth. Yeah, thanks for coming, everyone. I'll hang out for a couple minutes just if anybody wants to ask a question. And if not, I hope you enjoy the rest of your night. And I do want to say, this is a practice that's kind of designed to do off the cushions. So, not when you're driving, probably that would be a bad idea, but, doing the dishes, things like that. See if you can start to notice when there are no thoughts there. And that lack of agenda can just be so liberating. And the more we get to know it, the more we can deepen into it. And the more it happens uh, more frequently and, a deeper form of that. And eventually we want to get to the point where even when thoughts are present, we can still tap into that pure presence. It's a little bit more difficult when there are thoughts present, but something to be worked up to. So, um, someone joined the bell. Oh, wow. Oh, thanks for saying that. I'm so happy to hear that. As a meditation teacher, when you hear that people have never felt something like that before, that's about the best thing you can hear. And wow, thank you so much. A lot of gratitude. Cool. All right, everyone. I guess we'll sign off. And I have to check. I forget. I think I'm doing another one of these. And I thought, the next part of this practice is doing that kind of practice with bodily sensations. So if this worked for you, come to that. Again, I think I'm not going to say because I don't remember the date, but I'll check it out. And I hope to see you all there. And yeah, if anybody has any questions they want to ask later, um, hey, my email is just my name. It's Ralph B. Andradez, Andradez. Shoot me an email if something comes up when you're practicing this some other time. I always love hearing from people. So yeah, and I love talking about this stuff. So thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your week. And oh, we could do this again too. In fact, I have some recordings of this practice. So if you want to email me, I can send you one of those as well. So all right, great. Cool. Thanks everyone. And Brooke is doing another one of these as well. And I'll be able to come to that one. And I'm very excited for that. Uh yeah, take care, everybody.